Signature TV. News in your pocket.
And now let's check out what's going on in the political scene this morning on Political Circle with Dr. Luke Mbo.
Hello again. Welcome to Political Circle. Today we'll be taking a critical look at the off-cycle Guber election coming up very soon in Anambra State. Ahead of the November 8th off-cycle Guber election in Anambra State, 16 political parties will be battling for glory as published by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Campaigns have since commenced and political activities are in top gear in the state. The incumbent governor, His Excellency Professor Charles Soludo, some time ago promised to transform Anambra to the Dubai of Africa. To what extent has he achieved this dream? Who are the gladiators seeking to take over from him? What are their chances? This and many more will be dissecting on the program today. I'm joined by the Managing Director of Anambra State Civil and Social Reformation Office, an internationally renowned journalist and author of 6 books, a fellow of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, fellow of the Society for Nigerian Artists. He was the immediate past Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Anambra Newspapers and Printing Corporation, publisher of National Light group of newspapers, among others. Join me in welcoming Mr. Chuka Nabife. Chuka, you're welcome.
Good morning.
I am Luke Mbo, and this is Political Circle. Welcome again. Mr. Nabife, it's my pleasure to have you again.
My good pleasure having you.
We're going to start by examining the political atmosphere in Anambra State today. What is it like?
It's a campaign period, and a campaign is not a campaign is not a block of ice cube. Neither is it an ice cream. It's always intense. It's always charged with political rhetorics and a lot of verbiage. But Anambra is calm, peaceful. We are going about it with the usual Anambra candor. We smile, we work, we don't stop work, and we do it. And that's exactly what's happening in Anambra right now.
How are the people following up?
Really, you know, an Anambra man is peculiarly enterprising. The Anambra man doesn't like anything that stops him from doing his business. Be he in the business of the public, like a public servant, or in the private sector. Anambra man loves his business, and that is our mojo, that is our brand identity. So everybody's going about his business, while politics is also going on, and politicians are going about their business. So it's a vibrant society, but there is no violence.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Now, can we trace the voting pattern in Anambra State, or what I will call the political behavior of the people of Anambra State?
Yeah, the political behavior of Anambra State is interesting. Very interesting, particularly in the Fourth Republic of Nigeria, as we are in. What makes it very interesting is that if you check, Anambra would have elections that are bustling almost to the rims, to the boiling point. But whenever you have an election, Anambra always finds a way to settle for the best. Anambra always finds a way to settle for the one who gives them best margin. In fact, that business merchandising attitude of Anambra people always peter down to their politics, peter down to the partisan politics. You may have as many as tens of political parties, but whenever the election comes, at the culmination of time, you always see the Anambra man Anambra people settle for the best among them. And that's why I will make bold to say that political delivery had been very, very helpful, have been very, very, we've been having good business with politicians.
Can we do
that lead us?
A kind of political analysis or historical analysis of how people come and go as governors in Anambra State, going back to the days of Mbadineju? How was it the political behavior of the people or the voting patterns that threw up the candidates who win?
You know, voting pattern, voting in a democracy, voting is an outcome, is a feedback of an electoral system. An electoral system is actually a high point of the political activities. And political activities always interpret the development direction of a people. Did you notice the four grace I did? So the voting pattern, that is what people do, the mandate, how you calculate the mandate after a polling session, that after an election. In Anambra, like my intro would have given you, people tend to relate to the electoral polling, that is the voting, the way they relate to trading, the way they relate to merchandising. You will go into a grocery shop, if you are not known, if you are not schooled in the nuances of the market. If you go into a market, you get confused. You don't know what you want to buy. That's why people use, the Englishman use the word window shopping. When you go window shopping, you get confused. But as an Anambra man who is used to merchandising, they go into voting with a clear-cut interest, a defined identity of the man or woman they want to vote for. And at the end of the election, I'm not joking, go and check the results. You find the system settle. After all the simmering, the bustling, the combustion, you see the voting settle down for he who the cap fits.
Interesting. Now, coming to the November 8th Guber election in Anambra State, who are the contestants? Let's know them.
The incumbent is a contestant. The incumbent, Professor Charles Soludo, CFR. We have contestants from other parties. From the People's Democratic Party, you have Jude Ezewafo. From the All Progressive Congress, APC, you have Nicholas Ukachukwu. From the Labour Party, you have George Morgal. From the YPP, you have Paul Chukwuma. Among others, there are 16 of them. 2 of them are female candidates. You understand?
Talking about the YPP, reports have it that late Ifeanyi Uba, God bless his soul, was a major contender in this race. And would have given His Excellency Professor Charles Soludo a run for his money if he were to be alive today. What's your take on that?
You know, the expression would have been is conjecture. In English, would have been means that would is a projection of could. Have been is also a conjecture. If there's the likelihood that if Ifeanyi Uba were to be alive currently, that is Senator Ifeanyi Uba, who represented Anambra South senatorial district, would have been in the ticket, maybe as the candidate of his party YPP, but he's not alive. He would have given anybody who is contesting with, both from the primaries to the gubernatorial election, a run for the money, because 1, he was a philanthropist. 2, he was a charismatic politician. 3, he also he doesn't he had his had his mouth in his palms, so you can actually know where you. But then, one is to be a good performer. 2 is to have a good script. 3 is also to have a receptive audience. I'm not sure he would have had a good script if he were to be alive from YPP. And I don't know how receptive the audience would have been for him if he were to be on the ticket for Anambra people.
His political structure, don't you think that would have played a role?
That political structure for almost 10 years or more. Remember, he even was at a time a gubernatorial candidate before even he became a senator. So for about 12 years and counting, that political structure could remain only in a Newi and environ, and to an extent in Aguata and Ihiala. You understand? Yeah. So somebody would argue that if in almost 1.5 decades, that political structure couldn't extend to the larger Anambra, it could have remained there. And 1/3 is not the same as a whole. Yeah.
Thank you. Now let's go to the incumbent.
Yeah.
Professor, His Excellency Professor Charles Soludo.
Yeah.
We recall that some time ago,
yeah,
he was quoted as saying that he's going to turn Anambra State into the Dubai of Africa. Now, to what extent has he been able to achieve this dream?
Still on course. Rome was not built in a day. That is, every person who knows about development knows that development is a process. It's a progressive process. And as regards this, Professor Chukuma Charles Soludo's promise, that he stated clearly in his manifesto to turn Anambra into the African Dubai, Taiwan, Silicon Valley. There is something that links all this. Dubai, you can say, is a man-made development magic. The whole world goes to Dubai today for tourism, even medical, even commercial tourism and all the rest. The whole world goes to Dubai for that. Dubai was, until just some decades ago, a very harsh desert environment where there was no water. They have created artificial water, and water has become there, even like you can see like rivers. Where there were no trees, you had trees. We saw the whole world play football over there in Dubai, and still do, under a whole acreage, vast acreage of land, stadia that are fully air conditioned. So they have shown that man can turn what nature did not provide into what they want. That's Dubai. Taiwan, if you and I were growing up in the 1980s, even up to early 1990, 1970s, 1980s, early 90s, Taiwan was synonymous to fake goods. We were using Abamed. We say something is Abamed as to say that is inferior. We now move to understanding that it's a good spare parts. Taiwan, they are fake. Now, today, the words Taiwan is actually more like where you go for the best goods, best technocrats, bureaucrats even, and experts. Taiwan, man-made economy. Silicon Valley, a valley, much in the outpost in the United States, California precisely, had been transformed from a place for small merchandising, for startups, what we can call small-scale industry in the Nigerian and developing countries balance. We have moved from those startups to global conglomerates, to the extent that Silicon Valley is the headquarters of the world economy, in digital economy and digital companies. Even migrants made it so, from India, mostly Pakistan, even Nigeria. Man-made. And that's exactly what Soludo means when he says he wants to turn Anambra into Africa, Dubai, Taiwan, Silicon Valley. What do they mean by that? What does he mean by that? It's not about skyscrapers. If you go to Onitsha, Awada, you will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deckings. You understand? If you go, we have over, Anambra has, according to UNDP, has the largest population density of billionaires. You understand? Per square meter. We have people, up to 100 or more people, who can build 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skyscrapers all over Anambra. That is not what we do. But buildings don't make a superlative economy. Buildings don't make a Dubai, a Taiwan, or Silicon Valley. It's individuals. And that's why the governor has started from the basics. Anambra today has over 1 million. The target is over 2 million. Youngsters who are into digital, who are being trained in digital operations, use and manipulate, from coding to operation and all the rest. Anambra today has, through the 1U2 skills, over 13,000 youth being trained in extra skills. You see people who have their masters, they go to learn carpentry, they go to learn welding, they go to learn smithing, they go to learn sewing, tailoring, and all the rest. Confectionery is there. You understand? You now see infrastructure. When you see Soludo building infrastructure, bend down, pause. Don't look at them as just the finished projects. Look at the development impact of those projects. What are they doing? When you talk of things like Solution Fund City in Awka, what it means is attracting tourism, making recreation, bring money, create employment. You understand? When you see that Soludo has employed over 8,000 teachers, 8,000 teachers from the first year, what does it mean? It's trying to make the children, and these teachers, none of them is not a graduate. You understand? And he employed from over 16 states in Nigeria, so much like pushing to get this in. The intendment is to get the children trained, educated in the ways of the modern world. Where schools are, you have people who know digitization, teaching in schools, even in rural areas. So that is creating the manpower. If you see an organization like mine, ANSYS, Anambra State Civic and Social Reformation Organization, we are currently in an ongoing tour of secondary schools in Anambra State, about 800 of them. And what we are doing is telling them what it takes to be a great man or a great woman, the qualities you have to be a man. That is training children to become great people that will be in those advanced society. So the basics are being there. And that's exactly what the Anambra governor is doing now. It's making that, turning into a mega city, building traffic through the grassroots to the urbanities. That is actually how to do it. So when the skyscrapers, which will be the last or near the last things come, you begin to see that all the facilities, basics, of course, Walter Rodney said that the biggest, it's not skyscrapers that make a developed economy, but the human man's meaningful interaction with his environment. So that's exactly what the governor is doing.
Soludo is a student of Walter Rodney.
You can say that. That's development. Development studies.
He's a specialist in it. Let's look at his strengths and weaknesses in the forthcoming election. Soludo.
Yeah.
We take them one after the other.
Yeah.
Tell us his strength and weakness.
He is lucky that he's very, very lucky that he is from the ruling party in the state, and the state with the largest, the party with the largest political machinery in the state, which is All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA. That counts. That takes a lot. He also, one of his strengths is his workload. The people of Anambra call him Oluwatuegwu. That is somebody who is not scared by work. He's also very, very well placed. One of his major strengths is that people are seeing what he is delivering. And he's delivering them with a blindfolded focus, without mincing words, without looking sideways, without wavering. And that is a big plus for him. You understand?
What about weaknesses?
Weakness is that you may say, oh, yeah, he has a weakness for not being in the party that the federal government favored. But of course, he has a very close affinity with his party, has a very close affinity with the ruling party in the federal level. That's APC. Has a close affinity. And the president has a very big, more like a darling appreciation and interaction with Soludo, President Tinubu. So he has that. You understand? And you may say that his weakness is also that there may be a lot of people who are not, who may not be professors.
I know
who
about
think
that.
so, but that is not a weakness, it's a plus.
Let's leave the incumbent. Let's go to Ukachukwu. APC.
Ukachukwu's major strength, yes, Ukachukwu's major strength is being an experienced politician. He has been contesting since 2010. No, since 2003. In fact, since the beginning of the Fourth Republic, Ukachukwu had been in one ballot or the other, or aspiring for one election or the other. So he's a seasoned politician. He's been in the House of Representatives. He has been in the FCT, Federal Capital Territory Municipality, as a helmsman. So that's his strength. He belongs to the party of APC that's really in federal level.
What about is
weakness?
Ekwunife bringing?
Ekwunife is not is in the ballot as a deputy to Ukachukwu, and collectively they are all experienced politicians. But their weakness is boots on the ground. They don't have enough boots on the ground.
We don't have enough time. But let's go to PDP. What's PDP like in the forthcoming election?
PDP by its own making. PDP by its own making they have a strength. Ordinarily, apart from APGA, the biggest opposition in Anambra State should have been PDP. But PDP has, by its own making, internally in Anambra and externally in the federal level, have shot itself on the foot that you don't really see the machinery. You don't really see the followers. And you don't know where they are. Even how they arrived at their candidates, Ezenwafo. Even how they arrived at Ezenwafo was a little bit fuzzy. People begin to, are these people serious? That's their major challenge.
Let's go to Labour Party.
Labour Party's candidate is George Moral, another seasoned politician from APP. He was in the APP part that formed a pact with ACN to form APC. But now he's in Labour Party. The biggest plus for Labour Party in Anambra is the Peter Obi factor, because Peter Obi was a former governor of Anambra State. But Peter Obi is busy with his own 2027 ambition. He's not going to come down to campaign for George in 2025.
You think external actors from other parts of the country, since it's an off-cycle election, are they going to
very possible. Anambra has always suffered external factors. It's very possible. But Anambra is withering the storm. In politics, there's a saying, when we get to the bridge, we cross it. So external factors can be a problem. But luckily, progressives think alike. And Anambra government under Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo from a progressive party, has a progressive alliance with All Progressive Congress, the president in APC.
Mr. Chuka Nabife,
yeah,
thanks a million for coming. And I take your last word. Anambra people are progressives.
Very progressive.
So we're going to see...
And progressive think alike.
Yes, we're going to see a very wonderful election come November 8th.
Thank you.
At this juncture, I want to thank you for being part of Political Circle.
Yeah.
My name remains Luke Mbo. And I will now be handing over to my colleague, Uchenna.
Thank you so much, Luke, for that wonderful discourse on the Anambra State gubernatorial election. Very wonderful.
Thank you, my dear. You look so beautiful today.
Thank you so much. You don't look bad yourself.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.